Welcome everyone, whether you're tuning in live or on catch-up from Shipley, Airedale, Bradford or even beyond. It's great to have you with us. We are City Valley Church. We would normally meet in two locations, in Shipley and Airedale, and we've also got a huge heart to reach other locations, such as Bradford City Centre. My name's Mamie and I'm one of the leaders at our Shipley site. Our vision is to be a church that is loving Jesus, growing together and reaching Yorkshire and the nations. We pray that you will know Jesus' love and experience his presence this morning. If you're new tuning in, our online service will last around 40 minutes, and afterwards, most Sundays, we meet online on Zoom, usually in small groups for coffee and catching up. If you'd like to join in for this, or if you'd like to receive our weekly news email, then please get in touch via the website or email hello@cityvalley.org. So welcome, let's be encouraged as we celebrate and worship Jesus together.
Church, I hope you're all doing really well. I'm excited to worship together this morning. We're going to sing some songs now. The first one is a song called King of Kings that we have done together at church. You may or may not be particularly familiar with it, but it's a great song just for bringing our gaze onto Jesus this morning and really praising him for what he's done and thanking God for the redemptive plan that means that we can be reconciled with him through what Jesus did on the cross. So let's worship together. In the darkness we were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dead. Praise rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe for the souls of all who'd come to the Father are restored, and the Church of Christ was born. Then the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of old shall not kneel, shall not faint. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free, for the love of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Praise forever to the King of Kings. You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. From you are all things, to you are all things. You deserve the glory. You are worthy. You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. From you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. Let's sing it one more time. You are worthy of it all, Jesus. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. Bye.
We want to invite you to an evening of worship, prayer, and the opportunity to share together what we believe Jesus is leading us into as a church over the coming months. So on the evenings of Tuesday the 29th and Wednesday the 30th of September, we will be gathering from 7:45 for an 8 o'clock start at Christian Life Church in Shipley, who have really kindly made their building available for us for these evenings. You can choose whether you want to attend in person to either of these 2 evenings, or alternatively, they will be live streamed and recorded. Now, we're aware that for some of us, we will jump at the opportunity to gather in person for the first time since March. But for others, we all know that this will not be possible, or maybe won't feel comfortable taking this step just yet. And all these reactions are okay. And this is why we've made the decision to live stream them and record these evenings so that no one misses out on anything that's shared. A few months ago in our June Zoom meetings, we said that we'll be reviewing in early September how we will be meeting as a church going forward. And so on these evenings, we will be sharing the outcome of this review and how we see Jesus lead us across Airedale, Shipley and Bradford in the coming months. As a team, we believe this will be an empowering time for us as we stand firm together in both the challenges and the opportunities of the upcoming autumn and winter seasons. Now, our trustees and staff team have been working really hard at ensuring we will all have the required measurements in place to ensure we can gather safely and within the government guidelines. This will mean socially distanced seating will be in place, face masks will be required, and unfortunately we will not be able to sing together or socialise like we normally do. And due to the need for social distancing, we're asking you that you must sign up beforehand if you wish to attend either of these evenings. Both these evenings will have the same information, there'll be the same content, and you can choose which date suits you best. And as the venue's capacity will change, depending on whether people attend in households, social bubbles, or on their own, we'll ask that you book as soon as possible, and that will really help us to plan these evenings. So to book your place, to sign up via the events page on the website. Alternatively, you can send an email to office@cityvalley.org or contact Joanna on the office number, and we look forward to gathering together and sharing our heart for the autumn and winter term. See you soon. Good morning. I hope you're doing well this morning and embracing the change of seasons. I'm going to start this morning by telling you a story. 24 years ago, 7-year-old me needed an operation on both of my eyes. And I still vividly remember waking up on that hospital bed after the operation. I couldn't see a thing, nothing. All I could see was darkness. Needless to say, this was a bit of a shock, and I started to panic. The doctors and nurses had forgotten to warn me or my parents that they would need to pack my eyes with antiseptic cream and cover them with pads to avoid the risk of infection. This meant that I couldn't open my eyes for 24 hours. But in that moment, all I knew was that I couldn't see. Ever since, even though my sight has been up and down, I've been so thankful for my eyesight. This morning, I want to explore how we see the world and how we see others, what it means to really see, what it means to see through Jesus' eyes. In a moment, we're going to read the encounter Jesus had with a man who was born blind. However, I want to start by beginning right at the start of this story in John 9. As Jesus, went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" "Neither this man nor his parents sinned," said Jesus, "but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no work can be done. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." And Jesus went on to heal this man's sight. This man could see for the first time in his life. Needless to say, he's pretty pleased with the outcome. However, not everyone shares in his joy. The Pharisees are upset by this. Why? Well, Jesus healed this man on the Sabbath, a day of rest where no one should be working. He also healed this man whilst claiming to be the Son of Man. The Pharisees simply couldn't accept what they were hearing. They hurled insults at the healed man and sent him away. And it's at this point we're going to pick up Jesus' response in John 9:35-40. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, and when he found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" "Who is he, sir?" the man asked. "Tell me, so that I may believe in him." Jesus said, "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." The man said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. Jesus said, "For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, "What? Are we blind too?" Jesus said, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains." Now, I just love how many times we read in the Gospels that Jesus meets people's practical needs and also takes the opportunity to meet much deeper needs. Here, Jesus heals a man's physical blindness, but he also addresses and heals his spiritual blindness. He opens his physical eyes as well as the eyes of his heart, so he can see and receive the truth of who Jesus is and the coming kingdom he was preaching about. Here we have a man who has only ever known darkness, blind from birth, now able to see for the first time in his life. As well as being able to see, Jesus gives him the invitation to see himself for who he truly is. "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" "Who is he, sir?" the man asked. "Tell me so that I may believe in you." Jesus says, "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." Then the man said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. We also have the Pharisees in this story. They're religious leaders, the self-appointed spiritual elite. They believe they are the only ones who truly see and truly understand the things of God. But here, Jesus highlights and reveals the real blindness in the story, the blindness that stops them seeing Jesus for who he is. They're so caught up in the rules and regulations that they think will make them righteous, that they miss out on the one who would become righteousness on their behalf, that would release them from the law and win for them a freedom that would last for eternity. Jesus came to give sight to the spiritually blind, but he also came to challenge those who think they can rely on themselves and see without him. Jesus speaking in John 3:3 says this, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God." The reality is that everyone sees life through a particular lens. We all have a worldview that influences how we interpret our circumstances and surroundings. Our upbringing, parents, teachers, the media, the things we read and watch, who we choose to look up to, all impact our worldview. And this in turn impacts the way we see others and ultimately how we value other people. Our worldview also influences the way we choose to use our resources, our time, money, and our affections. In this encounter, we get an insight into the lens the Pharisees viewed life through. They see Jesus' behaviour, the status of the blind man, and they conclude they've seen enough. For them, it was all about keeping to the strict set of rules in order to please God. In their eyes, people were either good enough for God or they weren't. They saw behaviour. We also get an insight into the lens the disciples viewed the situation through. They were more preoccupied in trying to work out who was to blame for this man's blindness. Was it his sins or his parents' sins that caused this to happen? Whilst the Pharisees were focused on behaviour, the disciples were looking at who was to blame. Jesus, however, saw the person, the struggle of the man's life. He saw the deep physical and spiritual needs. What lens do you see the world through this morning? The Bible gives us an insight into how the Father's sight is different from ours. In the Old Testament, as Samuel was considering who he should appoint king to take the throne of Israel, it says this in 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider that's Eliab's, appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Like the Father, time and time again, we read how Jesus sees people from a kingdom perspective. Jesus saw people through a lens of who he had created them to be. Jesus sees men, women, young, old, sick, poor, Jew, Gentile, local, foreigner, educated, uneducated, rich, poor, clean, unclean, all as individuals, all uniquely created and all equally precious in the Father's sight. He saw them all as worthy for giving his own life for. He saw people not limited by what they were, but saw what they could become and who he had created them to be. As it says in Romans 5:8, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. For Jesus, no one is beyond the reach of his grace and redeeming love. He sees you this morning as someone who is valuable, acceptable, lovable, forgivable, and capable. Jesus saw a woman at the well, Zacchaeus up a tree, the girl who had been bleeding for 12 years. The list goes on. All individuals in need of healing, acceptance, and unconditional love. Jesus saw them where others looked away, ignored, even avoided them, where others only saw sinners too unclean to be loved. Jesus saw them. What lens do you see the world through? What influences how you view the world around you? Over the years, I've found one of the helpful indicators to know whether I'm looking at life from my worldview or from God's kingdom view is when I honestly reflect on the way that I see other people. Opticians say that a simple routine eye test can detect other underlying conditions such as dementia, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart problems, arthritis, even tumours. Similarly, how I see others, what my eyes tell me, often helps to detect any underlying conditions going on inside my own heart. What I see or what I choose not to see impacts my thoughts and my actions. And if I'm honest, the judgments I make in my thinking can be really uncomfortable to own up to. Thoughts that no one else sees, how I justify my own apathy at times, or how I normalise the heart and brokenness I see in the world around me. Thoughts that I have to repent of. Thoughts that expose my deep, ongoing need for Jesus to keep transforming my heart. And there's one place I recognise this in myself more than anywhere else, and that is at the play park. I catch myself seeing through the lens of the Pharisees and the disciples. I see different parenting styles. I see mums, dads, grandparents smoking on a park bench, drinking a beer, shouting at their children from a distance, sometimes not even looking up from their phone. I see the behaviour of their children, pushing other children and being disobedient. And I think to myself, I wonder who's to blame here. Is it the parents or the child? I think, well, I'm glad that I'm not like that. Or at other times, I make the choice just to ignore what's happening and choose to turn a blind eye. I choose apathy, out of sight, out of mind. But the question I should be asking, the question I want to be asking is, Jesus, how do you view these people? I neglect to see tired, overwhelmed parents, people in need of encouragement, friendship, people who are made in the image of God, people in need of unconditional love and acceptance of the Father. You know, when asked about what the greatest commandment was, Jesus says this in Matthew 22:34-40. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest commandment and the most important. The second most important commandment is like it. Love your neighbour as you love yourself. How do we love our neighbour as ourselves? Well, I believe it all starts with opening our eyes and asking Jesus to show us what he sees. Arthur Aaron, the professor of psychology at the State University of New York, studied the psychology of relationships. And what he discovered was the power of our sight in forming friendships and relationships. He discovered that 4 minutes of eye contact brings people closer to each other better than anything else. Recently, based on Arthur Aaron's theory, Amnesty International produced a film where they sat complete strangers opposite each other. On one side were refugees from Syria and Somalia, and on the other, citizens from countries across Europe. What followed was powerful and moving. Complete strangers experiencing deep empathy, compassion, tears, openness and friendship in such a short space of time. It is well worth a watch if you get a moment. And in a season where our sight is limited, let's not settle for out of sight, out of mind. Let's keep our eyes open, choose to see and not to ignore. Ask Jesus to show us what he sees. How do we see our neighbours, colleagues, strangers in the supermarket? What lens do you view them through? Do you only see their negative traits or the things that irritate you? Or perhaps you see people who look like they have it all sorted. Life's good. You know, we can become blind to their deeper needs. How do you see people who are different from you? Different coloured skin, different culture, age, sexuality. Jesus sees individuals who are valuable, acceptable, lovable, forgivable and capable. How do you see people? Imagine how seeing others the way that Jesus does might change the way that you react to people, the things that you do and the things that you say. How might it change you? You know, when you notice someone is having a horrible day, it should matter to us. We should care. When we see injustice, our hearts should ache. You know, we're all shocked and appalled by the unlawful killing of George Floyd earlier this year, the images we saw on the news, the subsequent experiences that have been shared about the reality of racism here in the UK. The truth is, we don't have to look far to see injustice and the impact of racism, to see hurting lives, people who are treated differently, abused and overlooked. But we too can see through a lens that isn't loving, a lens that isn't a kingdom view. Or even worse, we can choose not to see at all and walk around with the same blind spots. Reni Eddo-Lodge, a British journalist and author of the book Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, wrote this: "Not seeing race does little to deconstruct racist structures or materially improve the conditions which people of colour are subject to daily. In order to dismantle unjust racist structures, we must see race. We must see who benefits from their race, who is disproportionately impacted by negative stereotypes about their race, and to whom power and privilege is bestowed upon, earned or not, because of their race, their class, and their gender. Seeing race is essential to changing the system." If we keep our eyes closed, if we choose out of sight, out of mind, simply turn a blind eye, then yes, we might not experience as much hurt. Yes, we won't find our lives disrupted, our plans interrupted. Yes, it won't cost us anything. But we also won't experience nearly as much joy. We'll have so much less to celebrate as Jesus uses our willingness and obedience to love others, to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves, to bring good news to those in poverty, to heal the brokenhearted, to see the oppressed set free. So let's be people who choose to see, who walk around with eyes wide open, seeing valuable, acceptable, lovable, forgivable and capable individuals. Individuals with physical and spiritual needs that Jesus can meet and transform. Let's ask Jesus to show us what he sees and invite the Holy Spirit to empower us and to respond to those practical needs and proclaim the truth and life when spiritual needs arise. Church, let's open our eyes. Let's ask Jesus to show us what he sees.
Well, thanks so much to everyone involved in leading and encouraging us this morning. As we draw this online service to a close, we just wanted to highlight a few things. If you would like to hear more about our children's groups, our youth groups, our online connect groups for adults, or even if there's something that you would like to receive prayer for, then please do get in touch. If you've been new tuning in, we'd love to hear from you and have the opportunity to get to know you better. We'd be really happy to chat on the phone, on Zoom, or even socially distanced in person. So do let us know if you'd like that. We also regularly run Alpha, a series of evenings ideal for exploring more about the Christian faith. So have a look at our website for details of our next course. And lastly, we've set up a Hope Fund in response to the ongoing effects COVID-19 is having on our communities. If you'd like to give, then have a look at our website for more information. Well, that's all we've got time for this morning. If you're watching this live, we're on Zoom now, or if not, hope to see you soon at another time.